Hey everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode of MCUEx, your number one source for MCU news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Addie Hays, and joining me today is Jeremy Stewart.
Hey guys.
How you doing, Jeremy?
Doing good. Wish the weather was a little better, but you know, it's happening.
At some point it'll get warm.
Yeah, when I move to Los Angeles.
And also here is Doug Herring.
Hi Addie, hi everybody. How you doing today, Addie?
I'm good. It was a long day, but got a lot done.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah.
So listen everybody, we've been talking for the past couple weeks about this campaign we have going on through Gleam, where you can win these Funko Pops. And as of today, I think you have just under a week left to enter in that. So if you are watching this episode, or if you're watching next episode, it will already be too late to enter. So make sure you go down into the description of this video, or if you're watching us on the MCUExchange website, just right below this video in the article, and you will find a link to our Gleam campaign. There are lots of ways to enter. Make sure you do that, because this is your last chance.
Just to be clear, this episode is fine. Next week's it will be too late.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear.
Yeah.
If you're watching now,
Good.
you're fine, go enter. If you're watching next week, then it's too late.
It's someone else.
And somebody else has won these amazing Funko Pops. Once again, we want to thank our friends at NestedUniverse.com for making this giveaway possible. If you haven't heard of NestedUniverse.com, they are the best site. If you are a Funko Pop collector, they will help you complete your collection. If you are one of those anal retentive guys like me who cannot live with an incomplete set. If you're an inbox collector and you care about the state of your box, when you get your pops, you don't have to worry about them. If you order from Nested Universe, they take extra great care of your stuff to make sure they get it to you safe and unharmed.
By Slingshot.
By Slingshot, which we talked about last week.
It's a joke from last week for...
With all that being said, we have tons and tons of news to get into this week, so we want to get right into it. Addie, what's our first story?
All right, so as production begins on Marvel's fourth Netflix series, Iron Fist, a new name has been added to the cast list. Jessica Henwick, known for her small roles in Game of Thrones and Star Wars The Force Awakens, has been tapped to play Colleen Wing, the katana-wielding martial arts expert and ally of Danny Rand. In the comics, Colleen Wing is one half the Daughters of the Dragon superhero duo. The other half, Misty Knight, has already been confirmed to appear in Luke Cage, played by Simone Missick. Guys, what do you think of Colleen Wing joining Iron Fist? Let's put 90 seconds on the clock and discuss.
This girl has a killer agent.
Yeah.
Whoever her agent is, which I may or may not have looked up, but that's besides the point. I'm excited. She can clearly handle herself on big productions, which is great.
Yeah.
Because that kind of experience can sometimes really help people. And it's for people who are just like walking to a huge set like Iron Fist is going to be.
Sure.
It's helpful that she's done this stuff. She knows her way around.
She's done this sort of thing before.
Clearly, she's been in projects that she has fight experience to do it. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, we knew this character was coming. As soon as Misty Knight was announced for Luke Cage, we knew Colleen Wing couldn't be too far behind. And we actually, from the character breakdowns that we got a couple weeks ago, we knew that Colleen Wing was coming. So it's great. I don't know much about the actress. She played one of the Sand Snakes in Game of Thrones.
And as much as I didn't like that storyline,
they were terrible,
I
but she was
liked
fine.
her.
Right.
Like out of the three Sand Snakes, I think she was my favorite.
Yeah.
I frankly blocked them from my memory.
Well, okay, but that's the thing. She's the one that I don't remember hating.
Great.
Yeah.
Which, for that plotline on Game of Thrones, is saying something.
Yeah.
And she was like an X-Wing fighter or something?
She was
I remember seeing her in...
Okay, well, cool. Like I said,
like one line.
She's been in the right kind of projects for this.
Right.
It seems like a good fit. And I look forward to seeing more of her.
Do we know if she's British or not? I'm assuming with Game of Thrones and Star Wars that she's British, which will be interesting. Because they both. I mean, Game of Thrones casts from the UK, and Star Wars, if they're going for their lesser people, cast from the UK as well. So I assume she might be coming over from London, but
maybe
guesses all around.
All right, what's the next story?
All right, a few weeks ago, 3 supporting cast members were added to the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy sequel. Now, we may know the roles they'll be playing. According to a report from comicbookmovie.com, Chris Sullivan will be playing Taserface, a minor comics character who has fought the Guardians in the past. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Debicki will be portraying Aisha, a character who has strong ties to Adam Warlock in the comics. Finally, Tommy Flanagan will reportedly be playing Tulk. who has been rumored to be connected to the Raptors. Guys, what do you think of these 3 characters joining the Guardians sequel? Let's put 90 seconds on the clock and discuss.
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of minor characters in the comics, and as we know, Gunn likes to take minor characters and change them up a little bit, completely change their origin stories.
And really flesh them out.
And flesh them out, yeah. But it's interesting about Taserface.
The name
I love the names. But back before Guardians 1 started filming, before we knew anything about it, Gunn put a post on Facebook basically saying, like, I'm not going to say anything about this movie, but I was flipping through the comics today and I saw a character called Taserface. Safe to assume he won't be making an appearance. So I just kind of think it's funny that now he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I trust Gunn so completely.
Yeah.
He could take the most obscure, silly-sounding comic book name, throw it into Guardians. I'm sold.
Well, the other thing I think is interesting is that the one who has connections to Adam Warlock.
Oh,
we're starting to build to Infinity War.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have to bring the Guardians into that, and it's like, how are we gonna make that connection if we start to sprinkle these characters that know each other, that are all going to kind of, you know,
so here's a
one
question.
Picks up a cell phone.
Do you think we'll see Adam Warlock in this?
In Guardians 2?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Do you think we'll see him in Infinity War?
Yes.
Okay. So he'll be introduced in Infinity War, you think?
I don't know if he'll be introduced in Infinity War. He might be introduced somewhere else as like a sly, oh, he's there, or maybe a post-credits thing, and maybe even the Guardians 2 post-credit. I think you need him. I think it's going to be hard to have that rumored 67 character and not have Adam Warlock.
Yeah, and I just think Guardians 2 already has so much going on with it that maybe
that's
adding Adam Warlock would be too much.
We also
I'm not
would have
saying
heard
that Gunn couldn't handle it, because I totally think he could.
No, I also think we probably would have heard about Adam Warlock. He's a big enough character that
fair enough
that they would have gotten a name for casting.
Well, we don't know who Kurt Russell's playing.
Who?
Kurt Russell.
And
let's move on.
With that said, what's next?
While we don't know much about 2017's Spider-Man standalone movie, some recent domain names registered by Sony could give us a hint as to the title. Sony Pictures have registered 4 domain names, including Spider-Man Homecoming the Movie, Spider-Man Suspended Movie, Spider-Man Coming of Age Movie, and Spider-Man Greatness Awaits Movie.com. Guys, what do you think about these 4 names as possible titles for the 2017 film? Let's put 90 seconds on the clock and discuss. Well, initially we heard about Homecoming, and I was kind of like, cool, it's meta on other levels, and that's fine. But the other ones, I just am not a fan, especially Spider-Man Suspended.
Yeah, they sound like either like fake movie names that you'd see in like a TV show or something. Or like Greatness Awaits doesn't sound like a title, it sounds like a tagline.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sound very, and at not being able to pick a better word out of my brain right now, they sound very like teenager.
Immature.
They sound,
Now the other thing to keep in mind,
he is a teenager.
There's that, but the other thing to keep in mind is that these aren't necessarily for the live action movie, because remember, Sony has that animated.
True.
They have the animated Spider-Man movie in the works right now as well.
That would make, to me, that makes a lot more sense if Spider-Man Homecoming or even Suspended is their animated show.
I agree. I think I'd like to see the title be just like another like Amazing Spider-Man. I'd like to see some sort of adjective Spider-Man.
But they might not want it to be so similar to.
That's a fair point. I saw
the recent one, so that's what I'm thinking. That's why it might be actually one of these.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was one of those.
Which was the rumor that came out that was like Spider-Man, the something Avenger?
The new Avenger.
I love that.
I liked Spider-Man, the new Avenger.
I love Spider-Man, the new Avenger, because it plays on like the first Avenger, like I think that.
And I also think Sony needs to do everything in their power to remind fans he's an Avenger now.
Yeah.
This is in the MCU. You can watch us again. We promise we won't fuck it up again.
Yeah, and I've also like seen some rumors that Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans will be in the movie.
Yeah.
As like a small role.
Well, yeah, I think that's coming from the Homecoming title, because it links to the comics where there would be other characters
like Tony Stark and
right. Oh, okay. Wow.
But yeah. Cool. What's next?
All right. According to a list of attendees to the Captain America Civil War premiere, it appears that Alfre Woodard and Jim Rash have been added to the cast of the upcoming film. Rash, who has worked with the Russo brothers before in Community, will likely be appearing in a cameo role. However, Alfre Woodard's name is a strange and surprising bit of news. Woodard has already been cast in a major role for the upcoming Luke Cage, but her Civil War appearance is apparently a small, completely unrelated character. Guys, what do you think of this odd bit of casting news, and do you think it's a mistake to cast an actor in 2 different MCU roles? Let's put 90 seconds on the clock and discuss.
Go for it.
I don't necessarily think it's a mistake. It's not the first time this has happened in the MCU. I think it's the third. The Sousa in Agent Carter was a cop in the Avengers. And Peter Quill's mom in Guardians of the Galaxy was like one of the army wives or something in the first Avenger.
And I bet you didn't notice until just now.
Right, yeah, it's not something that most people would notice. So Alfre Woodard, she's a great actress.
Yeah.
And Civil War started filming before Luke Cage.
Right.
So it's not entirely surprising to me that they saw what she did in a very small role, said, that's exactly what we want for this role in Luke Cage, let's keep her.
Even for that, she could have gone on a different audition.
That's absolutely true.
I bet you she went on the Civil War audition, got whatever the tiny role it is,
right,
and then went to the Luke Cage audition and earned her, like she earned it.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. I hope, knowing how Marvel's done their casting, she for sure did.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a problem unless the Civil War role is a lot bigger than we realize. If she has more than like 2 lines of dialogue, it's going to be a problem.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think that shows some disagreement between Marvel Studios and Marvel Television.
But I think Marvel's on it enough that that it won't be an issue.
I agree.
I mean, and also one of the other things is that they are pretty close, though. I don't think that's really happened before in the releases. Like, I mean, Captain America, the first Avenger, was pretty far from Guardians, so it is the closest one, so it might be a little weird.
Yeah.
But, And Jim Rash, I'm super excited about.
Yeah, Jim Rash.
I
love Community, and Danny Pudi made a cameo in Winter Soldier, which was directed by the Russos. So I'm hoping for like a Donald Glover cameo.
I always wanted to see more of Danny Pudi.
Yeah, he was great. He was he a Hydra agent or was he?
No,
S.H.I.E.L.D?
he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. He was on the ship.
I thought he was Hydra.
Well, we have to rewatch it.
I have to rewatch.
Technically, he might have been because all of S.H.I.E.L.D. turned into Hydra.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but I think he was loyal to Hydra. Comment in go into the comments below with the hashtag Doug's right or the hashtag Jeremy's right if you can settle this argument.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
What's next?
Next week is Marvel Week on Jimmy Kimmel Live, which means every night will be accompanied by different guests from the MCU. The official schedule for Kimmel's show has been announced, with Team Captain America appearing on Monday, Team Iron Man appearing on Wednesday, and Chris Hemsworth appearing on Thursday. The biggest surprise, however, comes on Tuesday, as Benedict Cumberbatch is set to appear and debut the very first trailer for the upcoming Doctor Strange. Guys, what do you hope to see in the first Doctor Strange trailer? Let's put 90 seconds on the clock and discuss. I don't want to see too much.
Yeah, I don't think you will.
But I want to see I want to see a little bit of magic. Because
there's no way we won't.
I mean, just seeing some of the set photos that we'll talk about later, that his hands are doing awesome things. That's what I just want to see, and I know I will, but that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I'm also excited to see who's what. Because I know who the characters are by name, I know them from the comics, but Marvel takes a little bit of liberty, and I want to see
You want to see their interpretation.
I want to see what Cumberbatch is going to do. I want to see what Mads Mikkelsen.
I want to see the Ancient One. I can't wait to see.
I want to see Tilda Swinton. I just want even just glimpses of these, and not just set photos, but I want to see pan-ins and some camera moves as they do stuff.
Yeah,
I just want to see stuff.
I think because nobody outside of comic book fans know who Doctor Strange is, I think it's going to be a lot like that very first Iron Man teaser we got, where it's basically just, I think it'll show Strange in a car crash, his hands are mangled, and then a narration saying there might be some other way you can fix your hands, and then a shot of him climbing the mountains in Tibet, him talking to the Ancient One, him doing magic, maybe a quick shot of Mads, and out. And that's great.
And Chiwetel will probably have a shot too.
Yeah. They'll have a shot of each major character.
Yeah. I'm stoked. And also along that, there's the Wednesday guest spot, because it has Paul Rudd, who does that. He does that thing on Jimmy Kimmel, right, where he shows.
No, that's
isn't that Paul Rudd?
Oh yeah, no, that is
it's Paul Rudd.
No, it's Paul Rudd, but it's not Kimmel, is it? I thought it was Conan.
It is Conan. You're so right. Because I thought they were gonna be we have a new look at Civil War, and then
it's gonna be
the
Mac
bike.
and me.
Yeah.
Well,
never mind. Hashtag Jeremy's wrong.
I guess we'll move on with that point.
Yeah.
Of the many secret TV projects Marvel has had in development, perhaps the most wished for was a series starring Cloak and Dagger. Now it looks like fans will be getting their wish in 2017. A report from Variety on Thursday confirmed that Freeform, formerly ABC Family, has picked up a Cloak and Dagger show straight to series. The newly rebranded Freeform contains programming for young adult and teen audiences, and this version of Cloak and Dagger seems to fit that model. Variety states, the live-action interracial romance follows the duo, two teenagers from very different backgrounds, who find themselves burdened and awakened to newly acquired superpowers while falling in love. Tandy Bowen, aka Dagger, and can emit light daggers, and Tyrone Johnson, aka Cloak, has the ability to engulf others in darkness. They quickly learn they are better together than apart, but their feelings for each other make their already complicated world even more challenging. Guys, what do you think about a Cloak and Dagger show on Freeform? Let's put 90 seconds on the clock and discuss.
You start.
I love the characters. I don't love the network. Cloak and Dagger, it's a very dark story, and I have been hoping to see it on Netflix. Because I think it's the kind of dark story that works in the Netflix world. Freeform, it's done a lot to rebrand itself. It used to be ABC Family, and now that it's Freeform, it has become basically like ABC's version of the CW.
For a younger audience.
Prior 2 years ago.
Well, right, because CW
started
is just superhero shows.
Well, no, but they've started putting, they've won Emmys in the last 2 years. They started doing some quality.
And I think Freeform is kind of angling for that as well. They want to do quality, but
which this might be a step.
It's a teen drama that we're getting, and I don't know. There's room in the MCU for that. Just like there's room for the Netflix stuff, and for Guardians, there is room for that young adult series.
But with Cloak and Dagger,
that's exactly.
That's what kind of like nails the coffin kind of for me. So it's not completely dead for me. I totally see
I'm excited to see it still, because I love the characters.
I see why they chose it for Freeform too. I totally understand from the business side, but also from I'm older than the audience, or the targeted audience. Now I'm kind of like, oh.
And here's the thing, is this show is going to target teens. And we're all going to watch it, but the show is, because it's Freeform, it's going to be a lot like Shadowhunters is. Yeah. Say what you want about the show, but their production value is quite high and the effects there look awesome.
Yeah.
So if Marvel can do on Freeform what they want, which is really, it's a teen drama, but if it's headed by Marvel's TV side, I do have faith. Yeah. It's gonna be a little CW teen drama. Well, it's also a relationship drama, so you can't avoid that. Yeah. And it's not gonna be as real as a lot of people want it to be because it's Freeform, and they're going to cater to their millions of fans.
Well, you say millions, but one of the reasons that it works on Freeform is that 1 million viewers is considered good. The rating pressure is less on that network.
Yeah, and all to say, I have faith that it'll be solid. Yeah. Depending on which level of I'll keep watching, or to I can't wait till next week. Right. We'll see.
I think the biggest thing about it is who they cast as Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
That and the showrunner.
And the showrunner.
Because
if I find Dagger annoying, it's off.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, going over to the CW shows for just a minute. I know we've way overrun the timer, but this is a pretty big news.
Yeah.
The CW shows, talking about how important the showrunner is and the writers are.
Yeah.
I know you are not the hugest fan of Arrow anymore. I don't know if
also, especially after, I don't know if you guys watched.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
This week's episode
Walking Dead.
A lot of people unhappy. But okay, one of the reasons that Arrow got so bad is because its best writers all left and went to Flash, which I love. I love the Flash.
Yeah.
So if I don't care what its target audience is. I don't like the Flash for what it is. I just like the Flash. I think it's not a good show for CW. I just think it's a good show. Right.
Yeah.
It has its issues, but it's a good show.
And so this is my thing with Freeform, especially because they haven't done a lot of original programming yet, and they have one original show. Shadowhunters is their only one.
I don't think that's true. I think they've done...
Not that were picked up when they were Freeform.
Oh, you're...
I'm not talking about what used to be on ABC Family that's transitioned over. I'm talking about since they changed to
that
what
show,
they are
Bunheads?
now. Bunheads was ABC Family.
Okay.
That was
I haven't
Sutton
seen that, but I've heard it
Foster,
was...
right? That was Sutton Foster's thing?
Yeah. It was only there for 2 seasons.
Point being is... They need to, and Marvel does this. They hire really good showrunners.
Right.
Look at all of their shows. They hire some solid people to head these shows who know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true.
And so if you can do that, get the budget and the fandom that Freeform gives you
and
for this show, I actually think if the show goes well, Freeform's going to turn into what the CW is for Marvel.
Okay, so moving on from that, one of the problems that Agent Carter had is that it could never really pull ratings.
Right.
But I think if it was pulling the kind of ratings it did on Freeform, it would be considered a smash hit.
Well, yeah, so
do you think Agent Carter has a future on Freeform?
No, not at all.
No, she's too old to be...
It's not a teen drama.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's really like... And Freeform and ABC Family, the ads they show, the movies they show, when it's not their original programming, their reruns.
Agent Carter wouldn't fit?
Agent Carter, not at all.
Not at all.
And this is Agent Carter didn't really fit on ABC either. Agent Carter kind of was a great idea, and the reason it is still in talks for maybe getting renewed and hasn't done great is because it's a very hard audience to target on a network, on anything.
That's a good
Even
point.
on Netflix, it's
doesn't
a weird
really
fit
anywhere. Yeah.
I think the best place I could probably fit it would be Amazon or Hulu right now.
That's not.
But
I
that's,
can see it on
like
Hulu.
that.
Especially Hulu having just done 11/22/63, which is another period thing. That's the only place I see Agent Carter.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I'll stop talking.
No, I think
I think that definitely deserved a longer discussion than we gave it.
Yeah, no, I think the thing with I don't think we should discount Cloak and Dagger being on Freeform.
Oh
yet.
yeah, I'm not. I'm anxious to hear more.
There's
about
reason to be a little skeptical.
I think it's the next big news of the showrunner and the leads casting is
who's going to be writing, who's going to be acting.
Well, I mean, it's
that will
also
be the big
it's. I have a feeling it'll be a lot like the Shannara Chronicles, which went on MTV, but produced by Jon Favreau.
Right.
So there's that.
Cool.
All right, let's move on.
So, on Tuesday, the 15th episode of this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. aired, titled Spacetime. For an in-depth discussion of the episode, be sure to tune into our sister podcast, It's All Connected, on MCUExchange.com. But for now, let's talk about our initial impressions of this week's episode.
We went a little long on that last story, so we'll make this pretty quick. I love this episode.
Yeah,
this
they're
is
killing
it's a
it.
fantastic
From the
episode.
season break, they've done an amazing job.
The one-shot fight of Daisy was so great for that. Oh, that made me really happy.
I almost liked them practicing that fight with May more than I liked the fight itself.
The real fight, yeah.
Because that fight, when they were practicing, it had everybody working together.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
The
first part when she doesn't kick Simmons, and she's like, Simmons, fall down, and you're like, great. It was great.
I loved it.
There's
really
more
great
stuff
to
about
see
that
them
plane too,
or the Quinjet in space.
Quinjet in space. Of who's in that?
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm changing my mind all the time.
Okay, predictions for who's in the Quinjet?
Who's in the Quinjet?
I don't.
Do you think it's Yo-Yo? Do you think it's Mac?
I don't think it's Yo-Yo.
I don't think it's either of them.
Who do you think it is?
I don't know, but I don't think it's either of them.
Oh man, it's just I think of everyone and I'm like, I don't want them to die. It's Fitz or Simmons. Maybe it's one of Fitz and Simmons. They finally get together and then they just kill one of them.
But I don't know that either.
Inhuman today or Tuesday.
Which Inhuman?
Charles?
Yeah, Charles.
His name was Charles, right?
Yeah, Charles.
I liked
I loved him. And then
he was great.
Killed him.
Yeah. Well, finally, if he comes back alive,
no, they won't. Yeah.
No,
a character
he's
like
that. He's a one-off character.
A character like that has to be a one-off. Otherwise,
he's also too
every
powerful.
Episode would be about
just
him.
Be touch him and see what happens.
Right.
Though, let's again point out the Bobby and Hunter leaving is really doing wonders for the show.
I do miss those characters.
Yes,
but the show's better off.
But the show is it has room to breathe.
Exactly.
And it's great.
What if it's May?
It could be May. I think that
I feel like that could be a
especially
strong one.
this half of the season so far has really struggled.
Especially with Lash coming back too.
With Lash coming back.
Also, sorry.
I think that this season has really struggled to figure out what May's purpose is anymore. I think they could give her a nice end to her character once they deal with Lash however they want.
Well, it's going to be Lash v. Hive, Dawn of Justice.
Oh.
Well, because Lincoln has been stressing the whole idea of balance and how Inhumans are created to balance each other. Yeah. And, Lash. Hive is going to be this leader of an Inhuman army. Lash is this person who destroys Inhuman. This thing that destroys Inhumans. Yeah. And I actually think when Malik at the end touched Charles, I think that's what he saw. I think he saw Lash destroy Hive.
Or he saw himself turn into Iron Man, which is basically his armor.
But here's the thing: I don't think that Malik, if he saw his own death, he'd be scared. But I don't think it would have the same effect on him.
I agree.
As he has devoted his entire life, his ancestors have devoted their entire lives to this, and he has seen this true power, this ultimately powerful thing. And he says to Daisy at one point, "You've never really felt true power until you take someone else's away." Mm-hmm. If he could see Hive's power taken away, that would just shock and scare him more than anything else.
Also, you got to think if there's going to be any tie into Civil War, that Hive is going to have to go before he gets too powerful. Right? Does that make sense? The way we've seen Hive is like indestructible and needed to be banned to another planet. Right. That's call for saying, "Hey, Avengers, you want to come help us out?"
Yeah. Obviously, he has to be dealt with by the end of the season. Right. Because if he's a planetary threat, then yes, I agree.
I did miss Mac.
I missed Mac too, but
he did have that last episode too.
That last episode was all about him, and he wouldn't have had anything to do this episode.
That's
so
true.
It's just as well.
And I love Brett Dalton.
Brett Dalton's amazing.
He's killing it. But those are my 2 comments I had to make before we moved on.
Okay, let's go. What's next?
Now it's time for this week's main discussion, where we break down and discuss the major happening of the MCU. This past weekend, Doctor Strange filmed some of its final scenes on the streets of New York. Mm-hmm. As production wrapped, several set photos have surfaced featuring Doctor Strange, Baron Mordo, and our very first look at the villain played by Mads Mikkelsen. With all this Doctor Strange news, our main discussion for the week is, what sort of expectations do you have for Doctor Strange?
You should start.
Yeah, Addie, I think you have some experience.
I had the awesome privilege to be an extra on the last day of filming.
Yes, you did.
So I got to see Benedict Cumberbatch, I got to see Baron Mordo, I got to see Mads Mikkelsen, I got to see Mads Mikkelsen's henchmen, and the bad guys are chasing Benedict Cumberbatch and Baron Mordo, and it was so cool. Yep. It was so rad because we weren't supposed to be able to see them, so it's obviously kind of like more of like a final.
Now, before I start pressing you for details, I do know that because you were on set and you kind of had access to some privileged stuff, you probably can't say too much.
Yeah, there's probably certain words I shouldn't say that I was kind of.
Did you sign anything?
No, but they told us that we shouldn't post or
let's
anything.
not risk it.
Yeah, no, for sure. If she signed something, we'd get in legal trouble.
Sure.
Now we just might get reprimanded.
But I definitely heard some certain words that I think formed ideas in my head of what this movie could be about, which is gonna be amazing. And like from the things that they were acting on set, it looks just fantastic. Benedict Cumberbatch was just so in the zone, and he just walked on set and he was Doctor Strange. And I saw him do some magic, which of course he didn't actually, because CGI effects.
Oh, really? I thought he was actually... he's such a method actor. He actually learned magic from
No, but his hands, like, just watching him do magic, my whole hype level went out of this world. I'm so excited. And the makeup and the costumes was just phenomenal.
So it's interesting because, and this means nothing to people watching, but where we're filming right now, Stone Street Studios, Saturday, it filmed literally right outside this building. Yeah. Actually, after we filmed last week's episode, we walked out onto the street, and right there on a lamppost, there was a notice of filming.
Do you have the picture of that notice?
Yeah, I'll throw it in the show notes.
Yeah, so my expectations are super high. Scott Derrickson seems super
You're
happy
also
on
in
set.
the movie.
Yeah.
And Addie, keep a lookout for Addie. She might be...
When someone turns a corner, maybe you might see the back of my hair. Who knows?
Love it. Love it.
So that's awesome. Great that you had that experience, and I'm glad that I've gotten to hear some things off the record about what you saw. And speaking from that, I can say, I'm excited for this movie.
I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped.
Because Civil War is coming out, I can't say that it's my most anticipated movie of the year.
Yeah,
but it's close. It's close though.
That little GIF that someone made of Doctor Strange jumping
with the Avengers
team.
Oh, I love it.
Was
it's just
the
like
funny, just the whoop. It was great.
Yeah.
So should we discuss like what we actually think is going to happen in the movie?
Well, let's talk about some of the set photos we saw, because we'd seen Doctor Strange before in those Empire photos or Entertainment Weekly, whatever it was. We'd seen a little bit of Baron Mordo, but this was our very first look at This was our very first look at Mads Mikkelsen and the kind of makeup, especially around his eyes,
that
purple
cool stuff.
Yeah,
so
close
Addie,
up, seeing it was, it kind of looked like scaled, and like, it was really bad, because I'd like watch him, and the henchmen kind of like similar makeup to it, so like when they walked by me, I'd always like kind of stare at them, and one time they noticed me staring, and I was like, what's up? And I was like, oh no. But I was just really just looking at their makeup, because it was so detailed, they had to have it on all day, but it was just like colorful and scaly, and just magical.
Right.
It was so cool.
So, do you, and I don't say anything other than yes or no, from your experience on set, did you have any sort of glimpses into, or insights as to who the character might be?
For Mads?
Yes.
Yes.
Then don't talk. Jeremy, who do you think Mads might be playing?
Oh. So after the set photos came out, there were all these lists of like, who's he playing?
Yeah, we actually have one on MCUExchange.
And I read through, and I think a bunch of things, and I've forgotten every single name I read.
Fair enough.
So
some of
couldn't tell you.
I think the favorite theory that I've read, and again, this is nothing that I know, this is just something that I think looks like it might line up, is that when you look at the way the skin seems to be cracking around his eyes, it looked to me like whatever Mads is, it's not human. He's a demon or something wearing a human costume, basically. So with that being said, and looking at Doctor Strange, some of his most famous villains, I think Dormammu is a pretty good contender for who Mads might be playing. Or if not Dormammu himself, at least something that's been possessed by Dormammu.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of, especially with the Doctor Strange, because he works in an alternative universe, kind of on Earth. I'm just gonna ignore
Addie, because
we're just can't talk about.
No, I know. Right, I know you can't.
I want to.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
But
I want Scott Derrickson to come like message me and like kill me in my sleep.
I mean,
maybe. I guess maybe. You know what?
Anyways, I'm gonna talk to you.
Well, Jeremy, what do you think?
Addie, just chill. I think it might be, because we know a lot of Doctor Strange's villains like to possess humans and use a possession or some sort of mind control or some sort of, hey, sell your soul to the devil and you'll get this in return kind of thing.
Right.
I think that's my favorite theory, is that he's going to be human who kind of makes a deal, and I think like the cracking can start to be one of the issues that happens.
Well, aesthetically, it kind of reminded me of Whitney Frost a little bit.
Yeah, the crack in her forehead. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing.
Agreed. I support claims.
Not if you have any other.
No, I mean, like, I can agree with
that. It looks like Whitney Frost. No, you can agree that it looks like Whitney Frost.
It's just a visual agreement.
Fair enough. I think whoever he's playing, he looks badass.
He looks great. He's also, Mads Mikkelsen is fantastic.
Walking on set, I was just like, oh.
Yeah,
I
mean, from what he's done, Hannibal being the most recent example, but even the stuff he's done before that, he has an intimidation factor about him.
Yeah.
And even just it's like an intimidation charisma. It's a lot like Loki, actually. It's a lot like Tom Hiddleston has this thing where, like, you look at him and you're like, oh, you definitely could be good, or you could be bad, or you could be just a conflicted dude.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up Loki, because Baron Mordo, Chiwetel Ejiofor, looks like he's from the set photos we saw. Looks like he's teamed up with Doctor Strange, which in the comics
he's very much
not how it works.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that they might be setting up Mordo as
a Loki-like.
Well, because villain, like somebody who, this could be kind of the origin story, his fall.
Yeah. Which, if it's, again, the Marvel villain problem, this is a good way to solve it.
It's a great way to solve it.
Go to what works.
Make him a hero that loses that
make him
status.
a tragic hero.
And that way, if people love him and they want to team him up with Doctor Strange in the future, like they did with Loki in the Dark World,
they can.
They can do that, and then he might betray them or not. And, maybe when Thanos comes and it's the bigger threat,
and it's like, wow, we got
Mordo's like, well, I got to team up with them, and Mordo becomes an Avenger for one movie or whatever, and then he betrays them and joins Thanos. Like, I think making Mordo an ally of Doctor Strange at first, and then maybe later not. I think that's such a smart way to make his character so much more.
Or even if they start out as enemies and they have to team up for this one,
that would be cool too.
But I even see them not being like super strong enemies at the beginning.
No, they could just be like, I don't like.
Yeah, like
rivals.
Like I don't like what you're doing.
Like
you don't like what I'm
doing,
so it's fine. But then, of course, evil comes and they are like, fine.
We've got to.
And then something happens maybe at the climax that then it's like definitely enemies.
Right. It can be a lot like a Daredevil Punisher,
except in reverse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that.
Look, we're tying in all sorts of stuff on this show. Without asking, we can't really ask more questions.
That's the thing. I have lots of things that I'm going to ask you off camera.
Yeah, there's lots of.
But for now, I don't think that we can say much more about it.
I don't think we should. I think we should wait till Tuesday. See what happens.
That's the thing. We'll be talking next week. Make sure to tune in next week, guys.
Next week's gonna be big.
Unless something huge drops, our main discussion will be all about that Doctor Strange trailer and any Civil War footage that drops on Kimmel as well.
Yeah.
So
here's a question: when do you think we're gonna get a showrunner for Cloak and Dagger?
Oh, back to that.
I'm just curious about when.
If they're aiming to have it come out spring 2017, we should hear news in the next couple months.
Soon.
But if they're not doing it until fall 2017, I could see it not knowing for 6 or 8 more months.
There's probably going to be some Iron Fist news soon because casting rumors. As that goes into production, that we'll definitely get more casting news about that.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're casting notices right now.
We've seen a couple casting notices, and those look exciting, giving us a pretty good feel about what that show's going to be like.
Super pumped.
I'm pumped for that too.
It's gonna be a good year.
It's a good. It's a
good year for Marvel.
It's a good year for Disney.
It's a great. Year.
Let's be real. Also, here's something we can. So Warner Brothers just cut down on the amount of movies they're releasing.
No, they did not. That is a.
Was that not a thing?
That's an unsubstantiated rumor.
Okay.
That comes from sources that say that they're connected to the studio, whereas the studio has officially denied those claims.
Great.
So that's an interesting idea.
Because it's an interesting idea, very much so.
But yeah, I wouldn't put too much credence into that until we hear something officially.
Okay.
Although it is interesting because they did move Wonder Woman's date up by a few weeks.
They moved Wonder Woman up. They pushed back their version of Jungle Book
by a full year.
Well, because from all things said about this one coming out soon, it's supposed to be absolutely
the further away
incredible.
It is from this one, the better.
But it's just interesting that they came out with at least the rumor.
Are you doing Spider-Man or Doctor Strange?
Neither. I was pointing at you both just to finish our discussion about Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's get back to Marvel.
So I already said my expectations are super out of this world. What are your expectations for Doctor Strange? Just so we can wrap it up.
I think that when you, just looking at the news that came out over this weekend, and I saw on Reddit, on MCUExchange, just on the internet, they lost their minds over some of this news. I think this is going to be one of those surprising sleeper hits that nobody's expecting to do huge numbers and then just blows up like Guardians was.
No. Benedict Cumberbatch is a lot of fangirls.
That's the thing. Benedict Cumberbatch has a ton of fans.
All of them do.
Tons of fans for the star. The MCU name is strong, and I think the trailer is going to make everybody really, really excited.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if it was bigger than Guardians of the Galaxy.
So your expectations are high.
Hugely high, yes.
Great.
My expectations are so low. No, my expectations are... I'm more excited. The more we talk about this, I keep going back like a couple weeks ago when we had the fan question of what are you most excited about. This is now taking like front and center stage.
Over Civil War.
No, not over Civil War, but Civil War is so close that it's like it's inevitable now.
Right. A couple weeks from now.
Right, and the thing is, like, I'm not speculating about Civil War now. It's like I'm just waiting. Whereas this and Black Panther, which is the one I said I was most excited about, I'm still speculating. Then again, when we get Black Panther news,
that's the thing.
It's gonna.
My problem is
Doctor Strange.
My problem is I feel like my most excited or my most anticipated movie for Phase 3
is whatever's
next.
Yeah.
As soon as Civil War comes out, my excitement will go towards Doctor Strange.
Right.
But as soon as that comes out, it's Guardians of the Galaxy and Spider-Man and Thor.
Oh my God, Spidey.
And Black Panther and Infinity War.
About Spidey's solo. I don't think I'm going to be as excited about Spidey solo.
Yeah, it's
but then again, let's see how they do him in Civil War.
That
true.
Might change my entire mind. If he is a great Spider-Man,
right? Then
I've heard he is.
Then I'm going to absolutely lose it.
Yeah.
Great. So expectations are super high this year.
So with that conversation completely off the rails, let's wrap up.
Great, so that is the end of this week's episode of MCUEx, everybody. We want to give a huge thank you to our friends at Stone Street Studios for letting us film here, as well as Andy for his continued efforts to help us improve our sound. Make sure to follow MCUExchange.com for up-to-the-minute updates on everything related to the MCU. I'm Addie Hays. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Addie.
I'm Jeremy Stewart. You can follow me Instagram, Twitter, Jeremy_Stewart. And just thank you to the people who have tweeted at me and done that.
Or retweeted.
It's so much fun for me to like do this that it just brings me joy.
And I'm Doug Herring, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to follow the MCU Exchange at the MCU Exchange on Twitter or just MCU Exchange on Facebook. Also, check out our YouTube channel. We just put up a video a couple days ago for casual fans of the Marvel Studios movies. People, obviously, if you're watching this, you know what the MCU is. But maybe your brother or your mom or your friends who asked you, why doesn't Wolverine just come out and help the Avengers? You can send them that video, and it gives a pretty good breakdown of what is the MCU.
It's an amazing video.
Yeah, I think it turned out really well.
And there's going to be a lot more of that kind of original content coming your way.
Yes,
and the best way to do that is, again, follow on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, or just the site in general.
And subscribe to us on YouTube for all of our original content. And yeah, like Jeremy said, we have some great stuff in store for you guys. We have lots and lots of original content in the works. So if you're a big Marvel fan, you definitely want to be subscribed to us on YouTube.
Yeah.
So with that being said, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Happy 10! Woo!
Bye, guys.
Bye.